Good morning. This is a little message for all the moms who feel overworked, overtired, overwhelmed, and who feel like their work is not being appreciated and not counted. And so here I am about to tell you that how appreciated you actually are and will be, and a couple of things from the Bible, how God calls out people by name. I know we're used to being like, I grew up in a culture where it says, oh, praise to God, oh, it's not me, it's all God, which is true, correct. I'm not rejecting that. But what you do, your heart, your hard work, your attitude, it is all counted. And we are being preached to and people, the sermons that at least that's what settled into my memory, is that do not make the name for yourself. And yes and no. And today that's what I'm going to share with you, that is hopefully going to be encouraging. And number one, to lift up your heart a little bit, to have your spirit feel the joy, but also encourage you for more hard work and not on giving up on all of the things that you keep working on. Hello, my name is Yana and I am a working mom of 4. I'm a wedding photographer and I have my children who are 12 to 3 years old, and I'm a married woman. So life is busy, life is a lot, life is exciting. I'm not planning on giving up anything anytime soon. I am enjoying it a lot, but yes, every to-do does bring in an extra layer of complexity and an extra layer of difficulty. And oftentimes I find myself discouraged and I'm like, this is not done and this is not done. And it feels like it's a shame I cannot get everything done that I want to get done. And so today's thoughts are that you should really appreciate all of the things. David, careful with the wire, buddy, so you don't dump my phone on the floor, okay? Because that is going to be very sad. Thank you so much. And as I had these thoughts that I should record this video, God, I want to say, always comes through, even though like the things that I am working on, this is God's. I think that this is the act of obedience for me to do this channel. He told me to share these thoughts, but he always, and obviously like, yes, and that's the thing. Those are my thoughts, but I think they're Holy Spirit inspired, not because they are, and I'm just like sharing and talking with my mouth, giving you the thoughts that Holy Spirit gave to me. However, I still should appreciate the fact of obedience that I am showing here. And God is also counting this as something important and something valuable. And here, let me tell you why. It's not that I am just like doing all the work into abyss for the glory of God. Yes, for the glory of God, of course. But at the same time, God counts every single little task and little things of obedience and hardship and endurance and things that is difficult for us to do. He is counting that all towards the things how we are going to be recognized on the new earth, in heaven, whenever that is that we are reunited with Jesus and him and everybody. And so this morning I had these thoughts, I need to record this video, and God always brings in the Bible verses that I'm reading so often match up with the things that I need to hear for that day. And it's like, that's why I'm like, guys, I hope you read your Bible. I have read my Bible for a couple years now, the whole Bible in a year, and oftentimes that is a large workload to read the Bible in a year. And so most of the times I would just listen. If I would miss a couple of days, I would just catch up listening to. It's approximately 4 chapters a day that you have to do. But then if you miss a couple of days, then it's like 8, 12, 13 chapters a day. And I knew with that it was definitely not sinking into my brain. Right, anything is better than nothing. But I just need to sit and read and not be rushed. And this is it my second year now that I have committed to doing 1 chapter a day, and that's what I'm keeping going with, 1 chapter a day, and it had been so good. I try to read my Bible every day. It doesn't happen every day. However, it's consistent, and I am so happy with this. And so today, as I was reading this, I was not planning on recording this video today, but because the Bible a chapter that I was reading exactly matched up with my thoughts, I'm like, let me just record this, and obviously I will publish it at whatever date that I have to. But it's incredible to me how timely it is. It was 2 Samuel chapter 8, and the chapter talks about David and him going against Philistines, because the Philistines came against him. And so then it's like also Moab tribes, and there are just like all the names of kings and armies that he came against, and he was winning them. And so the verse, and like it talks about how successful he was. And so the verse 13, so David made a name for himself. And interestingly enough, for himself is in cursive. And my Bible has 4 different translations on the same page. It's like 4 columns going all together. So I can refer to every translation. And the only translation, New International Version, is the only one who does not have a cursive. It says, and David became famous after he returned from striking down 18,000 Edomites. All other translation, it says, and David got him, cursive, a name. And then American New Translation, New American Standard Bible says David made a name for himself. And then Amplified also has it in cursive, like for himself. So David made a name for himself when he returned. And so a question popped into my mind, and I was just like, is it specifically mentioning that he himself made the name for himself? That he specifically was like, to a degree, prideful, and he was trying to put himself on a pedestal rather than God? Because yes, he went into the battles, but it was also the God who came with him. And without God, he would not be able maybe he would be able to win the battle, but God confirmed that God is coming with him, and he definitely would be successful. Because we can do a lot of things in our human power, a lot of the human might. God gave us a lot of strength, and the systems, the laws that he set in the universe work. If we work hard, we can do a lot of the things. However, if God doesn't come with us, the Bible verse, even if you work really hard, if the God does not stand guard with you, if God does not help you along, you are working in vain. So God's help is obviously great. This is like the greatest help that you can get. And so here I had a question. So did he make a name for himself, or did he become famous, like known, because he was doing such an incredible, unusually unique, powerful work with these fights and with these military work? And let me finish reading to you the Bible verses, or should I say that probably both. It was probably the people who got to know him, heard of him, as well as God establishing him. So David made a name for himself when he returned from killing 18,000 Aramean in the Valley of Salt. And keep in mind, when you hear everything that I'm going to read right now, keep in mind that having a name, being known, is good, especially in God's terms. If there is, see, this thing is known. This is just a fact. If you're doing bad things, you are known for bad. If you're doing good things, you're known for doing good. And in public view, if you have a public presentation, public project that you're working on, you will be known by a lot of people for the work that you do. But at the same time, God knows you by your works. He knows you by what it is that you believe and then do. Because what is faith? Faith is the obedience of believing something and acting upon it. What you do is what you believe. The faith is like nothing if you don't do anything. The symptoms of your faith is your works. Whatever it is that you do only shows what you believe. And so God knows what you believe. God knows your belonging, your allegiance, your trust, whatever you trust in is in. That's what God knows. Sorry, lost my train of thought is that God knows your name by what you do. And you know that Bible verse that when we come before God and we say, Jesus, we were doing miracles using your name. We were working so hard in your name, like we used your name for that. But he is going to say, depart from me, you are evildoers. I never knew you. Because in the spiritual reality, the work that we do was not actually dedicated to him. When you do your dishes at home, when you know that this is done for the glory of God and for the building up of his kingdom, those dirty dishes are being counted, the washing of those dirty dishes are being counted towards your work unto the Lord. When you're preaching a sermon or talking to somebody and you are doing it only to show yourself as if you are so good and so holy and so wonderful and like you have all these great interesting thoughts, it is not going to be counted for your righteousness, and your name in God's records are not becoming bigger and more known. This is how God knows us, is by the works that we do unto him. And so now, hearing all of these thoughts that God knows us by our names, now listen to the rest, like the couple more verses that were very like striking to me, very impactful to me, that our names, God knows us by our names, by what we do. And so 13, I read this. So David made a name for himself when he returned from killing 18,000 Arameans in the Valley of Salt. He put garrison is military groups, groups of soldiers. I cannot think of the more beautiful word, more proper literary word to use. Garrison is just like, I can't. A group of soldiers. So he put garrisons in Edom. I think that's the location. In all Edom, he put garrisons. And all the Edomites became servants to David. It's like a control groups, basically. And the Lord helped David wherever he went. So David reigned over all the Israel, and David administered justice and righteousness for all his people. David was a righteous and just judge, the king over his people. Joab, another name, Joab, the son of Zeruiah, another name, the son of Zeruiah. And here, obviously, one thing I think Bible uses a lot of names for the historical record, for the lineages of the record of the Israelites and how it all came, how the families and everybody come, for the historical record, number one. And number two, the name. You are making a name for yourself before God. Sometimes people also know your name, but the most important person that should know your name is God. So Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was over the army. He was the leader of the army. He was a good army person. And Jehoshaphat, another name, the son of Ahilud, was a recorder. He was doing some kind of important records that came from the king. Is it historical records? Is it like some kind of archivist? I'm not sure. Recorder, 16. Secretary. So he was the secretary. Also a very important job. Also named that he was a part of the team. So sometimes like we think, oh, we have to work by ourselves to make a name for ourselves. No, being part of the team. It's like anything that you do unto the Lord is counted to make your name known to God. Verse 17, Zadok, that's another name, the son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, the son of Abithar, were priests. So Zadok and Ahimelech, priests, righteous, holy, separated, set to serve God in the righteous, in the correct way, according to his laws. God says it. That means that that's the best way to go about it, and you're obedient means that you're doing as best as God wanted you for the good of the people and you. So all the priest, the secretary, the army commander, and oh, hold on, never mind, I missed it. So scribe 17. So it is the second secretary. One is the secretary, the other is the scribe. So Seraiah was secretary. So another person by the name Seraiah, the secretary, and another name, Benaiah, also a person known by God, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and David's sons were chief ministers. So this important team that were leading the land of Israelites for the time was great. They were doing God's work of stewarding the nation of Israel, of establishing the Israelites. And let me just say this right now too, because there is so much negativity that comes from a lot of people, non-Christians as well as Christians. I think Christians also struggle with this so much about Old Testament and so many like violent acts that were done by the people of God, as well as it does say, oh, and that God joined and he destroyed the nation of whatever the names of the nations that were destroyed, and specifically said that God destroyed the nation. And everybody says, oh, God is the bloodthirsty God. How terrible. Why would I believe a God who is so terrible? And on one hand, I understand. On the other hand, though, I think three thoughts. Number one, You think that you know better than God, and this is prideful, because the justness of God is different than the justice of the people. God is more just than we do. So when we think that God destroyed a certain group of people or person or whatever, it is probably the need for that person to be done with the work that they were doing on this earth, good or bad, whatever the work is. It was time for the work to cease, to complete, to be done, and whatever. That was the timing that God established, and this is the time to go with. Hard for us to accept, because if we think that if it's a good person, it's a shame for them to be gone. God knows better. Can you imagine? God knows better than we do. Yes, that's it, nothing else to say. Reason number 2, our mercy is different than the mercy of God. We think that being merciful, we come from such a spoiled century. We live in such a good, comfortable life that we do not see bloodshed as much as people saw all through the life. We don't see as many diseases. We do not see as much hunger, as much instability. We live in, most of us, a lot of us live in such a comfortable world. And I think it's the people who live in the comfortable world actually speak those words, that how God dares to say this. And number 3, which I think is, I should have started with this one, is the most important one of all, is that most of the nations that were destroyed were terrible. They were, like, I almost want to cry right now how terrible they were. Right now, looking at the world today, with all the news coming out, and you were just like looking at the social media, at the news, and just like, what is even happening? Is this the world that we're living in? Well, that in our world, those things are hidden. We do not know about those things. That's not our neighbor oftentimes. That's just like the people in power, the celebrities, the whatever, like the elites, the powerful of this world, they are getting away with that. Well, the countries that were destroyed by God, that was a common practice. That would be like literally your neighbor, your grandfather, your cousin, your husband. They would be doing those things in public square. Everybody would know about this, and they would praise. That was accepted and approved practice. Child sacrifice, the like adult content that we see right now, that would be in the local place of worship. That was the things, the acts that were done to please the gods, the little g gods, the demons that they were worshiping. The terrible torture of your own people as well as the captives, the demonic presence that was done. That's why God, when God would say, kill everybody, because even no matter how sad that would be, that even children would be killed, the amount of torture and amount of things that were done to children already, their spirits, their souls were already fractured to the point that they were already, well, Jesus would be able to restore them. At that time, with a law, obviously there was now the practice to restore the souls of the people who had their souls fractured. So even if, I'm so sorry, so going back to the thought is that the whole nation was so corrupt, and even a lot of the physical possessions were either possessed or they used as portals for demonic. I do not know. But God said, do not take anything, burn everything. All of the things, all of the cattle, all of the, like, because in the Bible, in the law, it does say that if an animal is known for causing harm, the animal should be put to death. Because if the owner knows that the animal does harm to people or things and did not do anything about the animal, the next time the animal does harm, the owner is also responsible for the harm. So animals who were a part of the culture that was evil, also the animals were not okay. And so when we hear God said, kill everything living and burn everything that is the things, we think how wasteful the gold could have been used, the beautiful fabrics could have been used, how terrible, how unloving it is to like kill the animals, and all from young to old, everybody. But have we lived, if you were to live in that culture, in that community, you would not be okay. You would be also, like today, I think a lot of us looking at today's news and be like, this world does need a lot of like burning, destroying, and like pruning, cleansing. And so that was the culture, how people lived. I am a little bit now very much off track. Let me check my notes. Yes. So done with the giving excuses to God. Why all the bloodshed? Because it feels like that was the only way to cleanse the earth, probably, because the demonic activity was thriving, and only people who were going towards God would listen to God's morality. They would be acting on what is best for themselves and for others. So now going back to the name, are we making name for ourselves? Yes, we are. And know this, that it's like you're not making your name for yourself like in a proud way so that people know you. The most important person that you're making your name known is God. Do not be ashamed of making your name known to God. Bible specifically names multiple people. Abraham was a friend of God. Was he known in his land? Yes, he was known because he was very wealthy. So he was known to like the community where he lived. But all across the world, he wouldn't be known. So like there was no social media in that time. People would not know about him. But he was a friend of God. God knew him by his name. Noah was also obviously very much known to God. He was one of the righteous and his family that God looked at the whole world. And the only one who was doing the right thing for God was Noah. It does say that there is no greater prophet than Moses. Moses, by his works, the righteous, the humble works, he was known to God. And it's just like name by name by name. Everybody who is mentioned in the Bible, God knew them because of what they were doing. And yes, we are saved by grace because we cannot earn the salvation because we're not perfect. Only Jesus, the perfect life, can be given for imperfect lives. And God, if we claim Jesus's life, Jesus's sacrifice, then we can say this: yes, God, I claim it. Please now accept Jesus's sacrifice for my life. And so yes, we are saved by grace alone, but we are saved for works. As I mentioned, that the sign and the symptoms of your faith in Jesus and in God is with what you do. And obviously, Holy Spirit. I never want to leave out the Holy Spirit because He is the comforter and the advisor for us for today. And so I have two more things to say. Let me just say this one is that the encouraging part: view your work with pleasure. I know women, we're such perfectionists, and I think it is a built-in feature in us. I think God did make us to see how we can improve things and how can we optimize and make things better. But with the sinful nature, we can turn it into it's never good enough, never satisfying, never contented. So we need to take example of God and men, like the masculine men, the males in our lives, because number one, God, he gave us his example in the first chapter in Genesis. Is just like when he did work for one day. At the end of the day, he said, this was good. He did work the second day. He completed the work. This is good. He looks at a day worth of work, and he says, this is good. So every day you have to come to the end of the day and say, this was good. I did a good job. And biblical days are evening till the next evening. In the evening, you have to say the day is complete. I did an incredible job of going to sleep yesterday on time, waking up in the morning this morning. I worked as hard as I could all of this day, and the day is done. I am pleased. I did a good job. I worked really hard. I struggled and I corrected myself, and I remembered everything that I could remember. And when I couldn't remember, I did as good as I could with my attitude. And then I corrected the situations as I could. I did a good job. Right now is the evening. Let's do a good job tomorrow. Go to sleep on time and do this all over again. And the thing with males, the man, not the women, men are so much better at coming to the end of their project and admiring their work. Have you ever noticed your husband that when he completes his job, he's just like, wife, did I do a good job? Like, obviously they cannot do it. I think the boys are way better at this. They're just like, mom, come look, mom, look at this, look at what I have done. Men, they do grow up to like a maturity, and they're just like, I think that's a little too childish to be asking for praises. But they still, if you praise them, they will appreciate it so much. I need to work way better at like seeing my husband's hard work. Also, because just notice how when they change the oil, when they mow the lawn, they take a moment to admire the work that they have done, and they know that they have done a good job. When a mom makes a delicious meal, she's just like huffing and puffing at the table with the bad attitude of nobody helped me, or I did not get enough help, or something did not get finished, or something else. There's always something that is not enough. Come to the table and say, family, do you like the dinner? Are you so happy mom worked so hard to make the meal? Make sure to say thank you. Number one, appreciation for your hard work. Number two, teaching your children the habit of saying thank you, so that in the home they have a habit to say thank you, and when they go out, there's just like a normal thing for them to say, oh, thank you. So women are not as good at appreciating the hard work that they do. Look at your husbands and say, yes, husband, you did a good job, and I did a good job too at whatever it is that you're doing outside of the home, in your home, with your children, whatever. This is the thing that we need to improve on for sure. And so the last thing to say is about comparison and making the name known. Especially these days with the social media and like there is so much that we can say out of like comparison and pride, as if he or she is making name for herself in a prideful way. But if we know of somebody doing something, either in the public space or in a personal, like your neighbor, your sister, your like church girlfriend or whatever, Be very careful with comparison and how much you think that she is doing better than you or you are doing better than her. It is very difficult to judge another person because there is basically no way for you to know how much talent and skill and capabilities God gave them versus you. She can have more or less, and you can have more or less of a certain thing. But you see, that's the things that we're all like, if you're watching this, you're probably a mom and you're probably married, maybe no, but let's just say if you're not married, whatever, for a lot of the women, everybody has a husband. If you're watching this, you're probably a mom, you have children, all of us have children, you live somewhere. I mean, maybe you live with your parents, but you do have a certain space that you're responsible for. And so the housing situation, you have a housing situation to take care of. So we all have, and probably a job of some sort, either homeschooling or a ministry or work outside the home or working from home, something that, because I don't think women are too busy. I think women cannot sit still. I think a lot of us are just like, let me get something else going. Even stay-at-home moms always find some kind of passion project. So you are working on something else. So you actually, like, literally cannot compare what you're dealing with, like your unique situation, even though the ingredients are the same, but they're so different. The financial situations, the health situations, like the personalities of your children and your husband and your own. So you have, it seems like you have the same situation, but you actually don't. And only you know to a degree what you're dealing with. Because true knowledge is like you are able to compare yourself a little bit. Are you doing good or are you not doing good? You do not know. You are just doing. And that's the thing, that you, only God truly knows how you compare to others, because He knows the mix of the talents and skills and resources that you have. And your job is to just do a good job as best as you can. And that's the thing, that we see other people's children, other people's attire, other people's bodies, and we compare them. And the comparison is so unfair, because let's just talk about children's behavior, because this is obvious. Number one, you do not know the health issues, the genetic makeup, the neurological wiring of that child. The mother of the child might not even know fully what is happening. She's the one to know as better than you do, but God is the only one who fully knows. And so the behavior of your child might be very different, but you might be doing a better job at treating and bringing up your child than another mother. Because if the potential, let's say your child is misbehaving and her child is very well behaved, and you might be doing a better job before God than she does, because the genetic and neurological makeup of your child might be more challenging than her, and she has all the calm and peaceful and very like standard neurologically created child that she needs to bring up with the talents and academics and physical strength, so that that child can reach the potential that God is allowing, creating that child to be the next generation, to serve the next generation in the position that he would be able to, and that mother might not be doing as well as you are doing. And only God knows this. We can't literally judge it. Same thing with the health. Sometimes we might be looking at the very strong, like slender, healthy looking body, and then another person who seems like might be struggling with their health, and you don't actually know because there are certain things that God allows in that person's life for that person to work through, to learn either the lesson or to learn the faithfulness, to learn the God trust, just like in the life of Job, that his health was taken away. That might be a season of life that God is working in their life. Or maybe they need to figure out certain things, like literally, you do not know. So all of that to say, I'm just encouraging you. And again, my favorite, like every video I like refer to the God, good and faithful steward. You cannot be looking at other people and compare your work to their work. You are making your name known to God. Do not be ashamed of the calling that God has called you, because God made you genetically, talent-wise, uniquely for the work that He wants you to do. God made you to do a certain kind of work. And so the hope is that the book that is being written about our lives right now, God is writing, and we will be able to hear, Yana, my faithful servant, was a good steward of the children that I let her have, and the home that she stewarded, and the ministry that she carried. And the same thing with your life. The idea is for us to work as hard as possible. So we are making our names big and known to God. And He can see that you are working so hard for Him, for His glory. But at the same time, you are working also for yourself, kind of. I hope this all makes sense to you guys. I hope you felt the importance of your work and the acknowledgement, not the pride in a bad way, but like the satisfaction of what you are building for the kingdom of God. It's so good. And that's right. One more thing that God gave me such a good analogy is, like, again, the comparison. You cannot compare yourself to other people, and you cannot say, oh, look, his apple garden is like not doing great at all. My apple garden is thriving. Big trees, big luscious trees, beautiful apples. Look at them. It's going to be so good. And look at his apple garden, or her. We're talking about women here for now, or maybe men. I do not know. Anyways, looking at the garden of this person, what is even happening? There is nothing there. The ground is almost empty. There's just like some dry stuff. When that person was growing potatoes, all of the fruit is hidden under inches of dirt. And as nourishing and as useful, as important the potato is to the diet of a nation, in the same way are the apples. So do not say that if you see the apples of your garden, that this person's garden is not doing great, because only God knows what He has assigned, what seed He gave to you. He gave you a certain seed, a certain assignment to steward, to garden. So you just have to be responsible with your own. And it's really hard to compare your lives. Yes, we're all gardening. We all have husbands and work and children and homes. We all have a garden. But the different ingredients really affect what our garden is going to look like. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I hope you have a beautiful day, and God willing, I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, you guys.